Hi, Tim.
Hey, Crispin.
Now, look, the
Oh,
thing is, you've been very busy, as we know, defend our juries since the prescription of Palestine Action. I mean, you've been ramping up what you're doing. And I was really shocked to see this week that you had a couple of Zooms planned. And this was an email you got from Zoom. It says, we've received a request from the Metropolitan Police Service Counter-Terrorism Internet Referral Unit. I didn't know such a thing existed. London, UK, or they've got a branch in London, seeking to restrict access to users to a meeting scheduled by your account. Well, in fact, I don't want to go much longer into that, but you were blocked from two Zooms. You had two different Zoom links. Can you tell us what do you think about that? I mean, that's quite scary that you can't even communicate on a Zoom.
yeah, I think you're right. It is quite chilling. It is quite chilling when you think about the context for this, and the context being the prescription of Palestine Action after they spray paint those RAF jets red in order to draw attention to the British public, the role of the RAF in supporting the genocide. So the prescription is aimed to silence Palestine Action, to cover up the crimes of the British government. The prescription is rushed through Parliament at breakneck pace through a packaging up of Palestine Action with Murder Maniacs Cult and another, which now means most Labour MPs are saying they felt tricked by that anti-democratic process. And here we have a campaign, a truly democratic campaign, masses of people from all walks of life highlighting the implications of this authoritarian ban with peaceful signs against the genocide. And not only are they arrested under the Terrorism Act, but the meetings where people have the risks of taking action explained to them, where the context for this action is explained to them openly and transparently on Zoom, because there is nothing to hide about a campaign that aims to change an unjust law. And we've had Zooms taken down by counter-terror police. We've had the Defend Our Juries website taken down. We have had the Telegram channel, which is used to share information, taken down. I mean, these are the hallmarks of an authoritarian state. It's not to say we live in an authoritarian state, because obviously in many ways we don't. But in those respects, I would say that it's a chilling thing that has been happening here. And it's an unlawful thing. And it's a violation of basic democratic norms of freedom of speech.
The other thing I wanted to ask you about was, um, since the protest on August the 9th, Yvette Cooper's sort of doubled down on saying that Palestine Action is a real terrorist group and these people should know more about them, etc., etc. Um, and I've just seen that Defend Our Juries has written a letter to the Attorney General about Yvette Cooper. I'll just show the first page of it. Contempt of court. Yvette Cooper, contempt of court. That's the heading. Can you tell us what this is about?
Yes, well, under pressure, with voices from across the political spectrum turning against this prescription, what both Yvette Cooper and to some extent Starmer have done is start to misrepresent the basis of the prescription. We know what the basis of the prescription was because we've seen those documents in the High Court process. And Cooper's own advisors were saying this prescription is novel and unprecedented because we've never before prescribed an organization based on damage to property. We know that was the basis for it. Because she's under pressure, she's now come out and said, well, actually, Palestine Action is a violent organization. And that's why we had to prescribe it. It just is false. It is not true. It is contradicted by all the evidence, by all the record. Palestine Action targets the weapons the physical property that is being used to slaughter people in Gaza. That's what they do. They're preventing violence to people. They do not set out to cause violence to people. Part of the context here is we have criminal trials coming up of members of Palestine Action. And in one of those trials, there is an allegation that a police officer in the process of arrest gets injured. One allegation out of 350 Palestine Action actions, and it is disputed, it is denied. There being not guilty pleas entered. So when Yvette Cooper uses her office to put out across all the airwaves misinformation about the nature of Palestine Action, presenting them as violent against people when they are not, when they are the opposite, she's putting into the minds of those juries, those jurors, things that are just not true, that may influence the jury to deliver a guilty verdict because of things they've heard Yvette Cooper say. And that is a contempt of court. That is prejudicing the jury trial and making a fair trial not possible. And the rule of law, and we put this at the bottom of the letter, if the rule of law means anything, it's that nobody is above the law, including in particular the rich and powerful, like Elbit Systems, like the Home Secretary Yvette Cooper. So although we're not naive, we don't think it's very likely that the Attorney General is going to bring contempt of court proceedings against the Home Secretary. He should do, because what she's done is made that trial process wrong and unfair, and she should know better. And it's an affront to the basic principles of justice, what she's done.
I mean, can I just ask one follow-up on that? Because I don't know about this, but if there is a case, could those being defending someone who's involved in an action say, well, look, Yvette Cooper has prejudiced this trial and it shouldn't go ahead? I mean, is that another angle on that?
Well, that's exactly what we've done. We've passed the letter to the lawyers for the Filton 24, those people who've been kept in custody for, extraordinary lengths of time without having been convicted of anything. But we have passed the letter to their lawyers so that they can make exactly that submission. I don't know whether they will or whether they won't. But where it's not possible to have a jury and you're confident the jury are going to make their decision on the evidence, a fair trial isn't possible. And the proper course would be for the judge to abandon the trial process. If I'm honest, I don't believe that is what's going to happen, but I think the argument should be made.
Yeah, I mean, you're playing it straight. You're playing it all straight and as it should be. I mean, that's all you're doing, which is commendable. And now I want to talk to you about something that you're planning. Defend Our Juries is planning. It's the next action. It's on September the 6th in London, 1 p.m. It says make a commitment to action. This is on the website, which I'm sure someone will put in the links there. Now, what is the ambition of this action on September the 6th? And also, just could you say what you think about the last one, the last big one? What's your feeling now? It's a couple of weeks after that.
Yeah, well, thank you for asking, and thank you for all the opportunities to talk in the build up to that, Crispin. I think it was really, really wonderful what happened in so many ways, and it feels even more significant actually because of the Epping Hotel and the asylum protests, that we've got a kind of counterforce to that at the moment, because on the 9th of August we had a lot more than 500 people show up. We think it was probably, not far off 1,000. Despite everything the police had done and the government had done to try and keep people away, they put out misinformation about people going to prison. Straight after this, there were briefings to the media about the prison estate getting ready for all the people who were going to be remanded. It was pure intimidation. Of course, that didn't happen, and nobody was remanded. There were 522 arrests. That was made possible by this kind of charade of a process of street bail, where people were taken to one side by the police. They're asked to give their ID, their details, and then they're immediately released, which is a bit of a funny way of dealing with a terrorism offense. Let's have your
Yeah.
details, right? Off you go.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you just said I'm a terrorist. Um, but what it did do was allow the police and Yvette Cooper to create this illusion that they were able to cope with a mass action on this scale. They were able to say, oh, look, we've arrested more than 500 people. We're enforcing the law. Well, congratulations, Um, the political response since 9th of August has been amazing. I think on all sides, not just the contacts we've had with unions, with groups like Black Lives Matter, with Cage International, but also on the right of politics. We've had, people like Nick Ferrari, Richard Madeley say, well, we're with the protesters here. This is an affront to freedom of speech. A survey published in the Daily Telegraph said 70% of Labour Party members are now against the prescription. Podcasts from Rory Stewart and Alistair Campbell said insiders within the government are now saying it's just 20 or 30, hard Zionist MPs who are still in favour of the prescription. The rest feel tricked by the process. So we're nearly there. We're nearly there. If we can get 1,000 people back in Parliament Square on the 6th of September, I think this will be a political victory that we haven't really seen since the poll tax riots in 1990, where the state is forced into a retreat just by people coming together and refusing to be intimidated across our lines. And so that's what the stakes are for the 6th of September. And as long as everybody, senses this as a moment, as long as people step up and come together, I think this is going to be a hugely significant political moment. And just to be practical about it, it means getting there shortly before 1 o'clock with your pen and paper, ready to write. I oppose genocide. I support Palestine Action. And as long as at least 1,000 people do that on 6th of September, this is going to be a hugely significant moment that brings the left together.
Can I just ask one other thing? Because is there any advice about what happens when the police arrest? Is there a particular, because there was something else about the last time I was a bit confused because people cheered at 2 o'clock because they thought it was all over, and then others stayed, and then there were all the arrests. So are people going to stay the whole day, or are they going to do an hour? And what will they be advised to say to the police? Will they be advised to give their name, or will they be advised to do this street bail? What's going on there?
Yeah, again, well, thank you for the prompt on that, because this is two important points. We've learned from what happened last time. We're not here to make life easy for the police. That's not the point of this. An aspect of the non-violence, which is like embedded in the action, is not to be complicit in the violence of the state. Arresting hundreds of people for peacefully opposing genocide is an act of violence called out by Amnesty International and others. So we're not going to make that easy for the police. We're not going to go along with the charade. Our recommendation is, if you're arrested, do not give the police your information at the side of the street. You don't have to do that. You're not under any obligation to do that. All that does is allow the police to create the appearance of having the situation under control when they don't. So our advice to people, we realize not everyone will be able to go along with this, but our recommendation is, do not give those details to the police at the side of the road. Insist on being taken to a police station if they intend to arrest you. And that's where the normal process takes place, where you get free legal advice of your choosing. You don't have to accept the duty solicitor before you're interviewed. And that is the proper process that should be followed. And so that's what we're asking people to do. And we're also inviting people to go floppy is the expression on arrest. If you're able to, if you're physically able to, it's not resisting arrest. It's just very passively not supporting the police in that process of arresting you so that they have to carry you if they want to get you into the police vans. So
Right.
those are the things. And the other point you asked about the timing of it, yes, there was some confusion about that on the 9th of August. Previous Defend Our Juries actions have been time limited, but this time we're asking people to stick it out for as long as you can. You know, if you do what you have to do to look after yourself, but if you're able to stick it out, please do, because that's the way we really expose the absurdity of all of this.
Wow. I mean, I might be covering it, so I can imagine I might be there till, I don't know, maybe 2, 3, 4 in the morning. They still, I mean, how long is it going to last? There's 1,000 on there who floppy and they don't go. Oh, I mean, it's going to be a long day. The police are going to be very tired, a lot of overtime.
I think that is right, but it can also be a bit of a, magnificent day and early night, and hopefully we can bring some celebratory aspects into that as well and make
Yeah.
it a night to remember. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to doing a show the morning after that.